Welcome to Geometry Pre-AP. So today we're going to talk about writing equations of lines. First thing I'd like you to make sure to do is get your essential understanding written down. You might need the point-slope formula, slope-intercept formula. You should know what slope is too, but you can write those down. So pause the video and get those things written down. Okay, so as we look at some basic concepts here, we're looking at slopes of lines. And so we know a positive slope is going up to the right, negative slope is going down to the right. We know a zero slope is a horizontal line and a vertical slope is an undefined slope. Okay, and so just a little fun things for you if you've never seen it before. I do have a little thing I like to show my students, which is Mr. Slope. And so this is Mr. Slope. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't mean that to happen. All right, and so stop. This is Mr. Slope. And so what does Mr. Slope do for us? Mr. Slope does lots of things for us. He tells us that if we're a positive slope, we're going up to the right. If we're a negative slope, we're going down to the right. We have the horizontal line here, which has a zero slope, like his little chin is 0, and the nose for no slope. And so those are little things to help you remember those. Also, what I like to remember is that zero slope and no slope. If I look at those words and I go and look at how they're written, zero slope is made with horizontal lines, which have a slope of 0, and no slope is made with vertical lines, which have a slope of 0, no slope, or undefined slope. And so that's just another way to remember it. There's your slope formula right there. You should know your slope formula from the last lesson we did. Okay, so slope-intercept form, y is equal to mx plus b. Point slope form, where you have a point, which is the x1 and the y1, and the slope. We're going to learn to use point slope so that we can get, so point slope gets us this answer when we're done solving it every time. So that's why we like using it. It's also like an HK form, parent function form, that we'll learn more about in Algebra 2. All right, so what is the slope of line B? And so if we look here, there's lots of lines. Here is line B. I want you to find the slope of that line using your slope formula, and then find the slope of line D, which is right here. So pause the video and find those two slopes. Okay, so now that you're done with those, the slope of line B should be -4/5, and your slope of line D should have been 2 over 0, which is undefined. We're not allowed to divide by 0 in the denominator. It's a vertical line, so it has an undefined slope. I will also accept no slope there. All right, so what is an equation of a line with a slope of 3 and a y-intercept of 5? So we're going to take the slope, which is my m value, and my y-intercept, which is my b, plug those into y equals mx plus b, and when I have that, you should get the following equation. Y equals mx plus b. There's my m and my b. When I plug it in, and I simplify, and I get y is equal to 3x minus 5. Okay. Remember that our next unit we'll be talking about how to graph these, so we're just working on getting those equations down in this unit. All right, so we want to write an equation of a line given a point and a slope. So if I'm giving a point and a slope, I want to use my point-slope form. So if I label these x1, y1, so I put them in the right place. First I take my point-slope form. I'm going to plug those numbers in. My y1 was 5, my m was 2, my x1 was -1, and so when I plug this in, I get this. All right, and so then I have to simplify that information. And then if I simplify again, which we want to go all the way to y equals mx plus b, it's going to be y minus 5 equals 2x plus 2. I'm going to add 5 to each side. And so I get y is equal to 2x plus 7. And this is our final answer when we're done. Okay, so remember to simplify, distribute, do all your properties so that you can get it y equals mx plus b form. All right, so given 2 points, write an equation in slope-intercept form. You're going to have to do this one. I'm going to go through the process with this one for you first. In order to write an equation on a line, I need an m and at least a point, so I can use point and slope. So I've got 2 points. Let's find slope. So m is equal to -6 minus a -3 all over 3 minus -1. Two negatives make a positive, so this is -3 all over 2 negatives make a positive 4. Now you get to pick a point. I'm going to pick the smaller point. I'm going to pick this point. You could actually pick either point. So y minus a -3 equals -3/4 times x minus a -1. Two negatives make a positive. That's y plus 3 equals, distribute, -3/4 x minus, this is a negative sign. These two negatives make a positive. So that's minus 3/4. Now I'm going to have to move the 3 over, so that's going to be a -3. So I can't take a 3 away from that, so I'm going to subtract. I'm going to change the -3 over 1 to have a denominator of 4, so I'm going to multiply by 4 here, so it's become a -12. So that's going to be minus 12 over 4. So that means y is equal to -3/4 x minus 15 over 4. And this is my equation of a line. So the first thing you do, number 1, is find slope. Number 2, plug into point slope. And number 3, simplify. So this is your turn. So pause the video and do that problem. All right, I'm going to want to see all the work there. When you get all the work done, here's your answer to check with. Whoops, I didn't mean to write on that. Here's your answer to check with. Y is equal to 2/3 x minus 8 over 3. Get used to working with fractions, guys. They're not going away. All right. Next problem. Using 2 points to write an equation. So let's go through this process once again. All right. First thing you know, if you have a line graphed, we got the 2 points. And the first thing we want to do is we want to start by finding the slope of that line. So if we do that, we get this information, 6 over 5. Now, if you had a graph, you could do rise over run and just count. Second, you have your slope and you have 2 points. And so you pick one of them and use the point slope formula. And so when you do this, we're going to use the 3 over 5. And when I plug that in there, I get this. Then I want to simplify that. So that's going to be y minus 5 equals 6 over 5x minus 18 over 5. Got to distribute that. And then I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Now I can't add 5 to that like I normally would because it's got a denominator of 5. So that's going to be 25 over 5. So then y is equal to 6 over 5x plus 7 over 5. I'm not asking you to graph this. I'm just asking you to write the equation. So be used to putting those fractions in there. And so that is that process. Make sure you write this process down to help you. All right, so write an equation of horizontal and vertical lines. It says here, what is the equation for the horizontal and vertical line going through the point 2, 4? So a horizontal has a slope of, oops, I mean make that happen. Its slope is equal to, horizontal is 0. The slope for the vertical slope is undefined. So when I go to do that, a slope of 0 means it's going to be straight across this way. And so lines that have a slope of 0 are y equals types lines, and this is going to be y is equal to, sorry, my pen's kind of causing a problem right there. All right, so my line is going to be a y equals, and my y equals in this case is a 4 in the order pair. If I want to do the vertical line, that's going to be an x equals, and so that's going to be x is equal to 2. And so just to show you those processes, here we go. For every point on a horizontal line through 2, 4, the y coordinates of 4, so the equation is y is equal to 4 every time. And it says the same one for the x one. So you're going to be able to have to do this on the test. I'm going to ask for this. So here's your one to practice. Write an equation of a line horizontal and a vertical line through the points -2, 6. Make sure you have your answers written down. We'll check those when you come to class. Okay, so writing equations of parallel lines. So What is an equation of a line parallel to y is equal to negative 3x minus 5 and contains the point negative 1 comma 8? First things first, we need to think about, and that is identify the slope of the line. So the slope of the original line here is going to be that right there. So the slope is negative 3. All right, so we're going to take that slope in the point 1, 8, and we're going to plug them into point slope. So we're going to get this. And then once we have point slope, we're going to simplify that. So that's going to be y minus 8 equals negative 3x minus 3. We're going to add 8 to each side. And so my final equation is y is equal to negative 3x plus 5. So identify your slope, take your point, plug it into point slope, solve it for y equals mx plus b. Remember that the slopes for parallels, so this is this line, the slope of the parallel is the same, negative 3. So again, we go through this process. Pause the video, do both these problems. All right, so the slope here is 1/2. The slope of the parallel would equal also 1/2. So y minus 4 equals 1/2 times x minus a negative 2. So y minus 4 equals 1/2 x, just make a positive, plus 1/2, or actually plus 2 over 2, which is equal to 1. All right, so then I'm going to add 4 and add 4. And so y is equal to 1/2 x plus 5. Notice both lines have a slope of 1/2. All right, so do the same thing with the problem next to us. Make sure you have all this in your notes so we can check it. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing with perpendicular. So for this one, we basically do the same things except for a few little steps change. So the slope here is 2/3. The slope of the perpendicular would be the opposite reciprocal, so negative 3/2. So I'm going to take this slope and this point and plug it in point slope and work through it. So y minus 6 equals negative 3 over 2 times x minus 6. So y minus 6 equals negative 3/2 x plus, let's see, that's 18 over 2, which is 9. And I'm going to add 6, and I'm going to add 6. So y is equal to negative 3/2 x plus 15. So let's look here. Slope is 2/3 for the original. Slope of the new one is negative 3/2. They multiply to give me negative 1. So they are perpendicular. And this is my equation of my perpendicular line. That goes through the point 6, 6. Please do the one right next to it. Okay, so now that you've got that one done, remember that when you're done with this video, you can start on work on problems for the next day. I would do those that you're confident and that you feel like you understand, and then leave the tougher problems for when you get to class. That way you can have a head start, and that way the things that are difficult you can work on in class and ask questions on. And that's the end of the video.